Hey guys, it's Kimberlee and welcome back to my channel. Normally make videos on all things budget lifestyle, but today this video will be pretty much dealing with things happening in my life. So this vlog will probably jump around a lot because I want to basically show you guys how I found out what was going on and take it from there. But thankfully I am in the business of being on camera in whatever sense that is, because I think had I not been, I don't know if I would have picked up on things right away, because even in that sense, which you'll see in some of the videos, I didn't even necessarily see something coming on. It was only when I checked back after the fact that I was like, wait, I think this has been happening sooner than I thought. So let's get into it. Basically on a Monday, I had just filmed like this awesome self-tape or whatever. I was pretty exhausted and I suddenly felt this pain. So the pain was like from my ear down to my jaw, like right around here. I'd say it's what is considered a dull pain, so it wasn't throbbing or anything like that. It was just like a sudden dull pain. When I would lay back on my pillow, the nape of my neck kind of around here, it's like something would push on it and I would feel it more. So I'd be like, oh, I gotta turn my head this way. I gotta turn my head that way or whatever. As a dancer, which I am, as someone being active, I just thought like I probably whipped my head too much. I literally remember being like, what did I do in that self-tape? Because it was a dance combination. And I was like, oh, I was definitely whipping my head a lot. So I probably hurt myself. Another thing was that because of me finishing my aligners journey recently, I remember the orthodontist said you might have some jaw adjustment and all of that while you're, still in these 90-day period. So for whatever reason, listen, I go with like the most literal things. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, he said I might have like, jaw adjusting. So maybe my jaw is in pain and maybe these aligners are suddenly painful all of a sudden. But I was like, that can't be, because it's been a couple weeks now and I hadn't felt anything. So I just went about my day and I didn't remember something at the time, but earlier in the day I had cleaned my ears out because that's what I do, and I have this wooden thing. It's like a wooden stick that I've used for years. I found it on Amazon. That's so small so that you don't use obviously cotton swabs. You're not supposed to do that because it like pushes it in. You very lightly and carefully take out whatever wax is in there. I've never promoted it on this channel because you have to be really gentle with it, and I just didn't want anyone like poking themselves in the ear. At that time, and again, this may or may not be a thing, but it's just me theorizing, I do remember earlier in that day doing it and like hitting something or just like poking it too hard and being like, ow. That literally escaped my brain and never returned till like a week later. For the rest of the week, I had a very uncomfortable sleep. I was always feeling this dull pain and I kept having to adjust. And I could still talk, I could still do things, but it was just, again, right from here in the front, down here, I felt something. I have videos from Saturday up until Monday of me filming other stuff, skincare, whatever. Like, I didn't see anything. The only issue I had in that moment was just this pain. On Tuesday morning, I put my contacts in my eye and something was just up. Like midway through the day, it was really watery and I was like, this must be backwards. So I took it out, put it in again. I was trying to get ready for another self-tape and my eye was just like watering. And I was like, what? I never had this issue with my eyes. I felt like I was suddenly seeing like one of my eyes close a little slower. And I was like, that's weird. Why am I suddenly not blinking in time? And for me, I was like, my right eye is blinking slow. Why? That's weird. So I pushed through that self-tape. It was very weird and awkward. And I remember looking back and being like, your eye is blinking slow. I started to like do this a lot. And when I went to do like, it sounds so silly, but I went to do like a kissy face or a duck face, like, and my lip right here wouldn't close. And it was like air could like bust through. When I looked in the mirror, I had this like self-reflection moment where I was just kind of like that pause of realization. It's kind of similar to that detection when you feel a lump, for the ladies out there, and that like realization that something's up and you have to face it and you're like, you can't, there's like a moment where you look at yourself dead in the eye and you're like, I can't ignore this. And so kind of like fear settles in. Knowing a little bit of Bells Palsy, I kind of like first was like, this might be it. But I was like, how in the world is this happening to me? Like, where is this coming from? But I kept still thinking that it was my right side. It wasn't until later on that I was like, no, that's moving in time and this side is not. And I was like, wait, was that from the pain? And that's all connected. Sometime between Saturday and Monday, it activated. Whatever, the Bells Palsy activated or whatever. And I didn't notice it, and I was just going about my day on Monday, not thinking anything. And then that Tuesday is where I really started to see, and then it just started escalating. The way I realized that is that I looked back at my videos. In my video, I realized, and this is so scary and bizarre, it feels like a horror movie. I realized my left eye was never closing. And it's not something you would realize unless you are watching something. It would go down and open back up. It was not closing like this and not opening back up. So once I made that shift, I was like, okay, here's the issue. It's on this side. I did things like nose flares. I started raising my eyebrows, and I would see that this side was just like so elastic and moving, and this one was not. This one was stiffer. I decided to wake up early and go to City MD and, you know, be like, hey, this is what I think is going on. Let's say someone right away, he was like, it's Bell's palsy. Knock on wood, never broken a bone, no hospital stays, no things like that. Very low-key lifestyle. So things happening more in my adult life is kind of this, it's overwhelming because it's just not a usual system of like going to doctors, having tests done. He also thought by chance maybe it was shingles, because like if you've had chickenpox, like that can happen again. He equated it to the fact that he had shingles when he was like 27. He referred me to a neurologist, and again, as me, I'm just thinking about money, and I'm like, oh gosh, like I'm being referred. I have insurance, but I don't even really know how it works. Like that's something I gotta get better at. The good thing is that I have a slight case. I did early detection literally 2 days after I started to see different things or get a little thrown off by what was going on in my face. I went right to the doctor. Like I went early because I thought what was to come was a full paralysis, but it was a milder case, and he was like, great, I'm glad you came right in. The way they treat it is with like an antiviral, an anti-inflammatory, things like that kind of take down the inflammation, which will help to get that nerve working and all of that kind of stuff. And if you have other things or diseases or something connected to it, it would be healing it. He also was asking about, do I have any mouth sores? I guess those are other symptoms. And I was like, no, I don't have that. I luckily, by the grace of God, was able to have a neurology appointment that same day. I don't know what the odds of that are because I did not have any other days free. I was literally starting a new job the next day. Both doctors were very informative, and I appreciated it because I'm someone that I don't know things. So I really got to like hear it out. Like, what is this? How do we talk about it? How do we break down why and where this came from? And they were both really, really knowledgeable on trying to figure out what the deal is. But it is a visual thing where you can tell like that's probably this for the most part so far. She was also saying that maybe there was some sort of, it's called dissection. So like because of me being like, I think it's from dance, she was like, is your balance off, whatever. And it was funny because we did some balance exercises, and I was like, I mean, I'm a dancer, but she's like, well, when you close your eyes, she's like, you are moving a little bit, and maybe you did knock something out. So she's like, you should probably get a CT scan as well. Today is the day after I went to the doctor, so the day after I got my diagnosis of my Bell's palsy happening over here. I went to work today, and like I'm so glad for the anonymity of like having a mask so that like no one sees your face all day. They'll see my eyes and they know like maybe something's up, but the reason why that matters is because, like I said, I work on set as a stand-in, so I am on camera and they are looking for specific things. So I'm just like hyper aware of like, changes. Another thing is that like when I'm talking to people, the mask is covering, but I know I'm very animated with my face, and so I can feel the differences. So it makes me like very conscious of it, and like all I feel is like the fight of tension like when I'm talking. And so even now I feel it, and it just feels weird because in my head I'm like, oh, don't smile or whatever. Like it just isn't as enjoyable talking with this animation because it's like slighted. So I have some self-tapes that I have to film, and so I'm kind of still on that like weird feeling. As you might be seeing now, it's not as noticeable, but you are seeing that when I'm talking naturally, I'm watching it right now, my eyebrows move. Like there's just so much more going on over here, and really you can see that I'm not doing this on purpose. Like I just talk like that. But I think in the past it would be both of them, and as you can see, this one is not. I used to be able to do both, and as you can see, I can only do one, and this is the one. So it just feels like it's flatter. Like I just feel so much more life in the other parts of my lip, and this just feels flatter. It doesn't feel as in control. And so doing that, I can still do it, just takes a bit. Doing things like this, Physically, I feel like you see less wrinkles, so that is kind of a plus. I wonder if this is what it's like when you get Botox, and I'm further convinced I wouldn't want it. Okay, so today's Saturday, February, I don't even know. The lower half, I feel like I'm suddenly don't have as much control. This is me putting my lips together, and you see that there's like the whole, which I feel like before I noticed it just up here, but now I'm noticing it down here. I was eating oatmeal this morning and it was hard to with the spoon because obviously like this part usually is working. So like doing that was very tricky and felt kind of weird. It actually helps to have this sunlight right down my face. So let me line it up. Oh, and also with my nose too. It's there, but this one you could see is really moving. But all of that, it just feels like I feel it so much there and I don't really feel it here. Okay, so today is Sunday. I just finished a self-tape. I have to like regulate my face like when I'm doing my self-tapes now. Like I'm very much aware of like my facial expressions. I have to like almost be less animated here because it just looks very like, you know, one-sided. But otherwise I'm feeling okay. I do feel a little pain, like just like a dull, like in and out at random in this area thing. So this is kind of still a thing, but I'm believing that that is where this nerve or whatever is connected. We're okay. It's definitely both sides of the lip. I definitely feel that. Eyebrow check. Hopefully things get better and better. The medications seem like they're doing okay. I definitely think that blinking thing is not as strong as the very first day, so that's good. I've been noticing a little bit today, like some spasms. So I've had like some spasms like in my eye, in my cheek, in my lip. And so they feel like a little like bubbly, basically like a spasm. And so I think that that is a good thing because I have been noticing some improvements for sure. I always go right to being a vegan first, and I'm like, I might be malnourished, so let me figure out if I'm missing something. And I happened to look up something that said, like, if you are vitamin B12 deficient, it can affect your nerves. Again, I went back to the dance injury and was like, maybe I whipped my neck and like messed up my nerve, and that connected there and connects down to there, and that like killed this whole side or something like that. The B12 is a non-issue. When I got my blood work back, the B12 was like through the roof. I have a feeling though, and again, I'm not gonna marry anything to it because I'm not a doctor, but I have a feeling that it might stem back from that ear thing. I think I might have maybe poked something because again, it still was, this was the indication that something started. So maybe I poked something in my ear. Now, when I was at the first doctor, he looked at my ears and I didn't think anything of it. He's like, oh, it's all clear. So my two running theories have to do with something dance related or something with me poking myself, or just it just happened and something's going on in my body. There were some things that I did research where someone mentioned that, oh, like from having COVID, like they suddenly, other things are starting to pop up. From the research that I've done so far in relating to having COVID and all of that is that sometimes COVID sparks things that were lying dormant within your body, and then they, you know, come up to the surface. But I am not a doctor. Do not take that for fact. That is me just looking at a couple Google articles and being like, that might be relatable. I got all my vaccines, got my booster. I'm just saying that I'm trying to theorize what other things may have gone on. This is where I am at now. My face is much better. My eyebrows, I'll just do this, are much, much better, as you can see. Scrunching of the face is good. Doing this back and forth, the nose flares, so that is so much more. It's all lined up, which is new. It's not like one and then the other, but I think this one still is a little bit ahead. The doctors have all said that that sometimes can come back in like it would take like 2 months to come back. So the fact that mine came back quick is good. I'm sharing this as a reminder to be aware of what's going on. Like early detection and anything is so important. Grateful to have insurance. We'll see where these bills go. I think that I should be okay. I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.